Welcome to this episode of the Million Dollar Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of Million Dollar Mastermind. I'm here with A.J. Jackson, musician, band leader of the band Saint Motel, filmmaker, songwriter, record producer, and 2 platinum records, 1 gold, but also the inventor of eyewear. So AJ, talk about, I got a lot of things I want to ask you about. Let's go straight to the eyewear. What kind of problems were you having? Because, in life, it's all this. You got a problem, and then you got to fix it. But so your approach, the thing about winning is how you solve one area of your life and turn it around and work your way through it and come out the way you want, the best possible solution for yourself. That's how you wind up. That's your method. That's how and successful methods can apply in one area. They can work in other areas, like even solving your own vision problem, So talk about that.
Sure. I mean, exactly what you're saying. I kind of feel like writing a song is solving a mystery in a way. Like you don't know why it kind of gravitates that. So, I mean, certain things translate for sure. So with the eyewear, and I kind of love, this is an audio podcast, but you haven't seen these glasses, right? So this is a kind of a good example. So I bought round glasses like this, a couple years ago. I love the kind of Andy Warhol style round frame, but I love colored lenses, especially while I'm performing and going around the world. So I bought the same glasses 3 times. I put rose lenses in, I put blue lenses in, and one I had for normal glasses. And then I looked at the bill and I realized that was insane. I was like, well, why? I had the same prescription lenses. Why can't I just slide in the colors I want? And it didn't exist, and it drove me crazy. And I was like, man, someday someone needs to make these glasses because it's just silly. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to do this. I need these. So if you can see right here, you can pull out the colors. You can slide in any, polarized UV resistant colors. You could put blue in, you could put yellow in, you could put green in, brown in. And so then you never are limited again. So you never have to carry around separate prescription glasses, prescription sunglasses. For those that don't have prescription, you never need to pay, $300 for green Ray-Bans again. You can pay the same amount and have endless amount of color sunglasses. So it's really about freedom, convenience, and saving money. This is just silly that it didn't exist. So that's why A-View is here.
And people who want to see that can go to A-View. Is it aview.com?
It is.
Eyewear. Okay.
Aview.com. Yep.
A-View, A-V-E-I-W.
A-V-I-E-W.
Okay, I spelled it wrong. A-V-I-E.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
Like a new point of view.
A new point of view. And so how long was that so you obviously had to get acquainted with a whole different industry, context, learn different languages, find the best people, find what's possible, and go and then pay for your models to be done and stuff like that. So how did you work your way through that experience? You're on the road, you're writing, you're running a band, you're doing filming. How did you, because people wonder I can only do certain things, and I do believe you can't, it's multitasking is really, you can do it, but it's dangerous, especially if you're convinced you can multitask, you're probably going to have a big car crash on the road sometime. But the deal is you can have a lot of different projects going at one time. All in a day, you could put energy into a lot of different projects. And no matter what you're working on, usually there's stall times or wait times, it's like playing ping pong. You hit the ball and then you got to wait till it comes back over the net before you can do something else. And so what are you going to do in the meantime? And people that are interested in a lot of different things, they use those empty spaces to do other things. And so how did you go about getting these, figuring out what you needed to figure out to get the glasses you're wearing today and start the company?
Yeah, no, I mean the spaces you're mentioning. I mean, it's almost kind of, I'm not sure without the pandemic that these classes would be here because, when we stopped, the tour was stopped March 7th. That was our last show in 2020, but we had a whole year full of touring and festivals and, you know, press and promo and stuff that was shut down. Because yeah, it definitely needed the space to put some attention into some new worlds. So, the first thing I did was these sketches that I had for these classes. I reached out to some friends of mine. I'm from Minneapolis and have some friends that work at 3M in the kind of ideal lab. And I talked to my friend Nick Powley and Mac Cameron, and we got some 3D designs going. And then I was lucky enough to, near me in Glendale, California, I had a 3D printer in the library here. So could take 3D models, take it down to the library, literally print out some glasses, assemble a loose idea, modify it, do that for months. By the time the library knew me as that glasses guy, um, they were very sweet about it. They never said, can you like stop using our printers for this? So kept on refining it. They started very big and bulky and kind of worked it down and got it to a place where I actually, and I went to my optometrist and she was super cool and showing me through like, how it all works. Like you need the grooves here so the machines can trace it for your lens, like all kind of the mechanics of it, the types of plastics, all this kind of stuff. We got to a point where the 3D model was good enough where I was putting prescription lenses in there and I was getting stopped on the street and people were asking about my glasses and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is something to sell. And, the price point just it didn't make any sense for these 3D printed ones. So at some point along the line, I was like, well, what can we do as far as actually doing a production run? So, uh, I kind of knew a little bit at the time. Luxottica is this kind of behemoth in the eyewear industry that's a bit of a monopoly. And, they kind of own almost the entire thing from top to bottom as far as the manufacturing, the distribution, everything. Most famous brands from Ray-Ban to Oliver Peoples, they own them all. So the idea of being a boutique, independent, direct-to-customer eyewear company would have been pretty daunting. I think if this wasn't something that didn't exist, if I was just trying to put out a cool design or some sort of line of, hey, AJ Jackson branded, Wayfair style frames, I don't think it would have been worth the pain and suffering to do it, even if I'm like, trying to sell to my friends and family and stuff like that. And, I don't think the band's that big, but if we have any kind of following in that regard, it just wouldn't be worth it. It needed something that was completely different, that didn't exist, that could add value to people. If that wasn't there, I don't think it would have been worth pursuing. But the fact that, this is a novel, completely different concept that, people, once you get it, you get it. And it's like, why would you ever want to go back to one color sunglasses ever again after this? I mean, I get why Luxottica would want you to, because they want you to buy more sunglasses, but you don't need to. You can experience all these different colors with one frame. And if you have glasses, you don't need to have separate sunglasses and glasses. These are things that can be remedied. And we're the little kid in the room that's just kind of starting and making this thing. We're a couple months old, but it's cool to hear feedback from people that are like, this is something I've wanted for a really long time. It's different. It's different, but it's like, it's kind of like one of those things like, yeah, of course I want this. Like, why would I not have this?
Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to whiteelmwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up.
And how much of a challenge has it been for you to switch gears and get into a more detailed type product type experience rather than the experience of creating and performing? And is it are there similarities there, or is it do you find that you have to have bigger blocks of time to concentrate on that, or because you're making a whole different world of contacts of people you got to keep up with, so you're even though with a pandemic, I'm sure you're staying in touch with the band, you're lining things up, you got this, you got that, these worlds never stop. It's like when the big dumb idea I had when we had our first child was like, okay, this is an 18-year commitment.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. I mean,
no, it's lifetime.
yeah,
It's lifetime.
exactly. Yeah. I know
I'm
what
sure
you're
it's that
saying.
way with a band. So,
Well, in some ways, the band kind of like trained me for this. I was making a lot of our art and designing websites and making our music videos and making like a lot of content for the band as resourceful of a way as possible for like a decade. So in that regard, it kind of helped. I love the creative aspects of it. I love the idea of figuring out the next color. Is it violet? Is it orange? Like the next frame style, all the kind of creative aspects of it. The more mundane, bean counting aspects of it are, it's a new world for me and that side of it. But, it's been interesting. It's been a learning experience for sure. It's been a lot. And I've been trying to do as much as possible and slowly kind of building a team around it, so I can really get to know it and what goes into it and what it takes. But through that process, I think it's pretty clear to me what I gravitate more towards, and that's the fun creative aspects of these glasses, and just in general, like the fun creative aspects of music. Like we now have a business manager and management and people at the label that kind of take care of the more there's plenty of bean counting and not fun aspects of the music industry as well. My brain just doesn't wrap its head as around that as well for some reason. So I think it's been good to kind of show me what my real strong suits are and what I'm not so keen on. In that sense, it's been a good experience.
Well, if it's any consolation, I've never read it in a book, or I've never had anybody supposedly an expert tell me, but it's my observation that all entrepreneurs hate doing the books.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, before you can afford to offload that off, it's good that you have to do it in the beginning, because you learn it and you learn what has to be done, because you always are going to be responsible for it.
Absolutely.
And I've gone through the thing where I just ran so busy, I offloaded it off on other people, and they're experts. You're paying them I was paying them $100,000 a year back in the mid '80s. And if it's CPA, good Lord, why should I don't need to check on that. Yeah. And then I got embezzled by $1 million. And then I had, I had several things happen. And I'm not special. It seems to happen to all of us along the way. If we don't learn that if you don't make sure it won't happen, it will happen. And I just thought, well, I can trust those people, they're experts, but as I've interviewed a lot of people off the Shark Tank thing, and a lot of them will tell me, just because they're experts and they know a lot of people, they're not experts on every opinion they have. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately you've got to be, keep up with all the numbers. So it's really good that we're forced to keep up with the numbers early in our career, even though we hate it, because it gives you an insight for knowing, having a sense for if something's on track or it's in the ballpark figure, taking them out, the amount of time it should take, or the amount of money it should take, or if people are just, there's monkey business going on, and
Right.
you need
And
to
people
offload
make
it.
people
Go
also
ahead.
just make mistakes, like
There you go.
all the time. It's inevitable. We're human. So yeah, exactly like you're saying, to have that kind of insight into the process is very important, no matter how painful it is.
Yeah, because now can you look forward now and get a sense for what it is to run a company where you're going to have so many units made, now you're like a car maker. We have a new models every year and this and the, then we got to fix the old ones, And so are you getting a sense for what that's going to be like, getting into where you're thinking about number of units shipped every month, when we're going to bring a new model online, and the product fulfillment of it, where you're shipping those things out and making sure people get them, and then you got to do the whole thing with social media, build a community around it where people are taking the pictures and send it in. And we love our glasses and, boom, 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 the free advertising. But can you get a sense for being a CEO type thing, running that type job, as different from what you're used to so far?
There's a lot of similarities, that I've noticed so far, as far as you just have to super serve your fans, and you have to constantly be thinking of ways to grow that base. It's similar in that regard. You have to figure out ways to constantly grow it. And my experience, the way I've kind of always worked, it's been slow, steady growth. That's the way the band kind of's been going. That's the way my life seems to be going. I don't know. It's not intentional. Like, I'm sure, I would have loved to be where I am at 18, but that's just not the way my journey, or maybe my mentality, is set. So yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels there, a lot of like general key points that are same between them, and then there's a lot of things that are different. And on the music side, we have a pretty big team of people around it, and we also have stock and merchandise and albums and tickets and hard sales and all these kind of numbers that are parallels, but it's a much more spread out and much bigger as far as manpower ordeal. So there's the differences there for sure.
Yeah, and you got more people already in place to help you with that. Whereas this, when you're starting it up right from the bottom, and but then again, you got the fun of setting it up the way you want.
It's true. It's true. I wanted to. I was talked out of, but I wanted to store them all in my garage and ship them out individually. One on one, just ship everything out myself. And luckily I was talked out of that because we're on the road a lot, and it wasn't really practical. But I love the idea of touching literally every aspect of it. Like, I want the customer experience to be so positive. And I know it, with these glasses, it's a new product in a way. They're glasses. These have been around for millennia, but the concept of it is new. And a lot of optometrists that reach out to have people come and bring them in, that it's like answering these questions, and once you get it, you get it. But it is new. It's a new kind of idea. So it takes a lot of outreach.
And the thing is that this was a natural, organic, we talk about this quite a bit, outgrowth of things you were already interested in, used yourself, part of your life, and you were able to pursue it, because you'd done well with the thing. You're the first thing of the band, the other opportunities, that kind of creates space in your life, a little discretionary time, discretionary income, where another thing comes along is like, oh, I don't have to hand that off to someone else. I can do that. I can launch that. That would be fun. What I found, AJ, is that what you learn in one arena, you learn whenever you do something new, you learn new stuff, meet new people. There's conversations you have, problems you figure out, but then that is transferable often. You got new insights or angles or viewpoints, like taking a picture, like in painting. They just sent me one of my paintings, a 5x7 big monster thing. They're finishing, putting the final gloss on down in Palm Beach. And I'm out in Aspen now, but they sent a picture and they sent it to me upside down. And I was talking to Doug on the phone and say, it looks pretty good upside down too.
Yeah.
But when you look at these projects, it's like some of the principles and everything you use, you look at them from a different angle. It's like, oh, I didn't know I could, I really knew how to do that, but I hadn't really thought about applying that idea in this situation. And to me, it makes the leader who's in charge fresh. And you've already seen that, because I guess you're getting back, back moving to the performing side of things now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you feel like you're coming back
Stressed.
more energized.
Yeah, I think, we just did this kind of live stream with a full orchestra, and it was great. First time we played together with other people in the room, but the other people in the room were the orchestra.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be nice to be playing for crowds again. I think we're all, very excited, really hoping it's gonna happen. But yeah, like you're saying, there's a lot of benefit to, having the eyewear company has, helped in certain ways with the band side of things too. Just kind of things you learn, like we weren't most savvy on the interweb. The band, like, never even really had an online store for our social media channels, like things like this that just seem like kind of no brainers, but you learn from these other areas and kind of pull whatever you need into the other side.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelementary.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.